All right, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 5 of the High Octane Dads Podcast. We're getting rolling here, getting back into the swing of things, and happy to be back. So, got a couple good topics here today, and as you can see, Chris is much more comfortable today.
Yeah,
I changed my setup around a little bit too, but I didn't go to the recliner just yet.
yeah.
And I see you're rocking your new High Octane Dads T-shirt.
Yeah.
Got to get me one of those.
I even got me some pretty cool new American flag pajama shorts.
Nice.
They may be a little too short to show, but they might appear maybe in some shorts or reels later.
Got your Hoochie Daddy shorts on, just in time for the 4th.
I was talking to Holly about it earlier, and I said, hey, I might have some good ideas for stuff that I can record. So be ready.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, good deal. I think today, I feel like everybody's still kind of getting to know us, and we know each other, obviously.
All right.
But I think today we're going to talk a little bit about what we do to fund our car addiction, hobby, disease, whatever you want to call it. It is definitely something. It'll take all your money. Sometimes I think a drug problem might have been a little bit cheaper.
Probably.
So
I don't know. I mean, it's got other issues, but
Yeah. Oh yeah. This one. At least if it kills us, it'll be sudden.
Yeah, we might look. We have our first visitor.
Very nice. I'm sure mine will come in here in a little bit. So, what do you do for a living?
Talk a lot of shit. So really not far off. I work in manufacturing. I'm an operator for machine, but we do setups. We make razor blades in our plant, so I'm in the department where I take raw material and put an edge on it. And to be honest, without really seeing a lot of it, but there's a lot more that goes into making a razor blade than you would ever think. And so we have a heat treat, perforating, and then a grind process. Then we have like hand pack and machine shop and all that mess. But no, I mean I've been doing that for 17 years this year, and we are also a union shop, and I've been a shop steward since 2012, 13ish, and then in 2016 or 17, I became our education director, and then was also a steward. And then this past fall, I got voted in for vice president. So which has been pretty cool for all the positions. I mean, I've been to a bunch of different trainings. I've gotten sent to a lot of cool places. We went to St. Louis the other year, which, I mean, it was neat. The city kind of sucked. But, I mean, sorry if you live in St. Louis, but I mean, it was a rough area. But I mean, it had a lot of nice sights, and a lot of good restaurants. But I mean, we would walk from our hotel to where the convention center was, and we walked past a police precinct that was all boarded up with graffiti all over it.
Oh wow,
so that's really, yeah,
comforting.
And yeah, and then one night we were walking back to our hotel from the convention center, and we had a what was it, a Jeep SRT8 come flying down the road, and while we were walking across the street, and we were standing in the middle of the road, he went by us probably doing 100, 120 mile an hour. And there was a car stopped at the stoplight. We were walking across and it happened. And we were like, geez. And then right behind it was the Charger. And I'm like, man, we better get inside. But we went to Vegas, Pittsburgh. We went to Ohio earlier this year for a training. So, I mean, I've definitely got to do a lot cool things, met a lot of cool people, learned a whole lot. But I mean, really, I don't mind what we do. The work's not bad, but man, just dealing with all the other stuff that's not what I'm actually supposed to be working on, and just dealing with the companies is a lot sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely can be,
Pretty
I'm sure. I
expensive.
mean, I think that's true of anything you get into. Work becomes work, and then there's people and politics and everything else. And
Oh yeah,
I get it.
that's all it is. Politics and people, and I mean, I think we're definitely, as far as our people, we're doing pretty well. Stronger now than we have in a long time. But I don't know. Been doing that a while, and so that was gonna reminded me. So my mom listens, and my
Okay,
mom's a
awesome.
big fan.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, she got me these shirts made, and
Awesome.
that was my Father's Day gift. And she had a local girl make them for me. But anyways, her critique was that I cuss a lot. And I'm like, well,
S-
I said I get it, Mom.
Spicy
And I was
sentences.
like, yeah, I mean it's gonna happen. But then I'm like, it's not an excuse, but at the same time, I want to be authentic. I've worked at
Sure.
a factory for almost 20 years. I
Yeah.
mean, she said she's a fan, but that's really the only uh thing she said that maybe you could work on. I'll work on it, Mom. But it is who we are. I am what I am.
Fair enough. So I'm always fascinated. So how did you end up in that job? I mean, was it like you were looking for a job and you knew they were hiring? Is that one of the bigger, like around here years and years ago, we had a big, there was a plant where they made cigarettes called Brown and Williamson, and they closed down years ago. Geico is a big employer around here, and of course the Air Force Base. So how'd you wind up there?
So I actually worked for a local co-op farm store all through high school, and I worked in the feed mill. Slung feed bags, did deliveries, had a general knowledge of some farm equipment, feed, uh, you know, things of that nature. And it just got to a point. I'm like, look, I'm not doing this forever. And I actually had a full ride at a local community college for the automotive program. And I actually went and took my first year and did like all the prereq classes. Like I had an English class, um, like a composition class, I think a math class, and maybe like CPR or something. And then my next year, I went into the program and I got this job. Well, because all right, back up a little bit. The farm store, I was into cars, so the farm store was at a point where money wise, it wasn't getting me my car stuff that I needed, or just anything out of me trying to get better out of a high school job, basically. And so I was trying to get into some sort of mechanical field because it's stuff that I enjoyed and it's what I wanted to do, kind of get involved with. But then uh, I wasn't getting that program, and then this job, a friend of mine that I went to school with, his dad worked there, and I used to hang out over there a lot. So I put in an application, and he just would pester them every week to hire me. And then my mom knew somebody that worked there, and our area is really heavy in manufacturing. Like we have McKee Foods, which is Little Debbie. We have Hershey, Target, Walmart distribution. Um, there's probably a good half dozen or dozen more that I'm not thinking of. But we have a lot of manufacturing, businesses in my area, and farms.
Yeah.
Um, so I got into this, and I was like, man, it was a lot to it at first, and I was like, it was really good money for me being 19 years old, and I'm like, all right, this will work. And then I started taking the automotive program. Like I said, I took my first year when I was still working at the co-op, and I started uh, where I'm at now. And I started my second year of school. Well, I was on second shift, so I worked 3 to 11, but I was doing a lot of 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. shifts. And I started. the program, and there was like, all right, well, you need to take such and such class, which is a shop time, but it was like whatever day till like 4:30, and I'd be at work at 3, and then or I needed to have a job where I work so many hours in a shop somewhere. And
Gotcha.
I'm like, well, and I remember going in the program first thing, they were like, oh man, you can get out of here and easily get a job making like $25,000 a year. And I'm like, oh no, this doesn't sound very good. I was like, I'm wanting to make money. I'm not wanting to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
roll around and fight cars and whatever. Well, me and the I don't remember what the guy's name was, the teacher of the class, we butted heads. Um, I think I might have had his class for like a month and a half, and we butted heads, and it got to the point like we would go over basic diagnostic stuff, and then I would be finished with whatever topic or whatever they gave us to, something to do that day. And I'm like, I'd look through our folder and I'd start doing stuff for the next couple of days. And he's like, you can't do that. I haven't taught it yet. I'm like, I know, but I'm bored. I said, did I do it wrong? He's like, no, but I haven't taught it yet. I'm like,
Right.
well, then he's like, well, you need to do this other class. And he's like, I was like, well, I can't do that because of my job. He's like, well, you need to quit that job and do this and this and that. Ultimately, I ended up just stopped going to the program, and he just kind of burnt me on it. And I know uh, at the time, Holly even told me, she's like, are you sure, you want to work in a job that you're working on cars every day and that's your hobby now? Don't you think you'll like hate it? And so I started to think that more, especially after dealing with that. And like I remember at that time I was building a small block for my Trans Am, and I was asking him about torque converters. He's like, well, what's the car going to be used for? And I was like, well, I mean, it's a street car. I was like, but I will take the drag strip some. And I said, but it'll be driven on the street majority of the time. And he's like, oh, so you're wanting what people call a street strip. I don't believe in that. It's either a race car or a street car. And I'm like, I mean, it's a street car, dude. And he argued with me, and I'm like, he goes, well, if you're doing anything else to it other than whatever, it's a race car. And after that, I'm like, this guy, he might be very knowledgeable, but his mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
he was all about, I don't know, probably like, I guess, dealership work. And like, anything that was outside of probably basic repair, he just was like, it's stupid. And I mean, I know there's some people that are like that. And I just, I'm not about that life. I've got to change everything.
Right.
So, but
Make it your own.
yeah, so I don't know that after that, and like, at the time I needed the money, and I'm like, this, it could have put me into a different fields and something different that I may have liked. I don't know. Um,
Well, you've
but
made a living,
it's
though. I mean,
still,
you've provided for your family, and that's.
oh yeah, yeah. But at the same time, I know a lot of people that have worked in like dealerships and all sorts of different shops, and it's the same way. I mean, you have, bad jobs, good jobs that come through, management, the way things are put towards you. I know it's a little bit different in a lot of like dealerships and shops like that, where, they might I don't know what they call it, like, job rates or whatever. Some of them
Mm.
might make a base rate, some of them might get paid by the job, and, some jobs might pay really well. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I know there's a whole lot to that. I've never had to really deal with it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I do know that I've dealt with a few people that had local shops here years ago that they were really cool about, like, hey, if I tell you it's going to take 2 hours, you say I charge $90 an hour. If I tell you it takes 2 hours, it's $180. He said, but if it only takes me 45 minutes, I'm going to charge you 45 minutes, not 2 hours. And so, I mean, that may have been, at the time, well, there was like the whole recession was going on. Yeah, he eventually closed, but
Yeah.
it might have been some of that part of why. But I mean, I would rather take my business to somebody that's like, hey, I'm not going to screw you over,
Right.
you know. But I do know as a business owner that makes it hard too to survive yourself, especially if you get a lot of jobs come in. The person,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to spend a ton of money.
Yeah, I've got a
But
local shop, and I just took something to them today, and then I had something that somebody was asking me to look at, and I was like, look, they're the best around here to take it to because they're going to do you right. And you know, I trust them, and I'm very adamant a lot of times when they ask me or when I'm talking to them about what something's going to cost. Like, I know we're friends, but you've got a business to run. I run a small business myself on the side. My wife is a realtor and she works for herself. My mom runs a small business. I'm like, charge me what it costs, for you to keep the lights on. The last thing you want is for your friend to have a small business and your expectation is that they're going to cut you a deal, right? But then you're paying full price for some of the name brand stuff you're buying. You're not haggling with Walmart. You're not haggling with Amazon, right? Like, and helping them out is keeping the lights on. So, you definitely don't want to get screwed, but you want to make sure that your friends that have small businesses can stay in business and continue to
oh,
do right by
absolutely.
people.
Like, I mean, I try to. I don't typically take a lot of my stuff to shops very often, but every now and then, if I find, I like to try to take my stuff to shops with people that that I know and are
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with. Some of it for that reason, some of it for race car reasons. But there was one guy that opened a shop a year or two ago, and I've taken like my Caprice to him. He put tires on when I first got it, alignment and all that mess. And he's done a couple things to the Suburban, like rotate tires, inspection, things like that. And then I had an air conditioning issue with it, and I took it to them because another shop looked at it a couple times and couldn't find the leak because it kept leaking down. And so he went through with the sniffer and he replaced a hard line in the engine bay that was leaking. Well, he replaced it and he called me at work or texted me or whatever and was like, "Hey, I replaced this line, charging the system." I'm like, "Awesome, cool." Well, then he texted me, he's like, "Hey, call me." Here we go. And he was like, uh, so I started charging the system and I got to thinking, I was like, let me check something again. And he started going through the process, checking everything, and found that it was leaking down uh, in the dash, and it was the evaporator core. And he was like, so I went ahead and discharged the system, and you can come pick it up. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, that's a really labor intensive job, and I just can't lock up my bay for the time that will take to do that job for what the cost would be. And he's like, it's most likely you're not going to want to pay it. And I'm pretty sure he's right because I ended up doing it and I had to pull the dash and it took me a whole Saturday. But I went through and like had to pull the center console out, move the seats back, drop the steering column, all these little screws, which really it wasn't terrible. It was just making sure you keep up with all your shit and take lots of pictures. Uh, so I took it all apart and I pulled the whole HVAC backs out and I found where the crack was in the evaporator core, replaced it. Went to put a new heater core in, and the one that I had from Rock Auto was wrong. And at that point,
Uh,
nobody local had another one, so I inspected it really well and cleaned it, stuck it back in it. But it's been in there 2 years now, knock on wood. But no, it took me all day Saturday, and then majority of the day on Sunday putting it back together, and then like I did like a full interior detail and shampooed everything, and so it looked super clean and nice and smelled fresh,
mm-hmm.
and air conditioning works. And I mean, like I said, it was probably 2 8 to 12 hour days. I mean, I didn't work on it constantly those days, but it was, you know, a lot,
Yeah.
and it would have been probably $1,200-$1,500 job at the minimum for a $20 part. So and he knew that, I knew that. So I mean, when I went to go pick it up, I was like, "What do I owe you?" He's like, "Nothing." I was like, "Well, you put a line on it, and you did all this." He's like, "Well, I discharged it," and he goes, "I didn't fix the problem." He goes, "I'm not going to put parts on somebody's car and then not fix the problem." He's like, "I'm going to eat that cost." So I've made sure I've sent multiple people his way. I'm like,
Yeah.
he might not have got money from me through that, but he'll get business from
Yep.
like, "Hey, go here. He'll help you out. He'll figure out what's going on. If he can't, he'll figure out a way to make it right."
Yeah,
And
that's one of the
I
best
mean,
things you can do is give them a referral, you know.
oh yeah, and I mean, for the most part, I take my stuff because we have state inspections here. I'm not sure if you guys do or not.
Not in my area, luckily.
Man, I love it. Well, it's for in my area, it's the safety inspections, but I mean, then they do visual and everything else. But you still got to know places to go for everything. But
That's where I
no,
need to
I
insert
mean,
that meme of the guy underneath the car with the $20 bills behind his glasses.
yeah. So I mean, but no, I always try to, you know, I've got friends that work in multiple different shops. I'm always like try to hit them up, or I'll try to like send somebody their way every now and then.
Yeah.
Or like if I have something oddball going on that I can't get to, or I'm having an issue diagnosed, I'll be like, hey, can I swing by? You know, give them a little money, whatever, help me out. So, and then I always, hey, go over here or go over there if somebody comes to me asking a question.
So that'd be something I'd be curious to hear in the in the comment section on YouTube or over on the Facebook page. But maybe we'll make a post about it. But for anybody like us who came up interested in cars, right? At some point, we've all thought how cool it would be to have a job at a performance automotive shop, or maybe even just working in the industry at a dealer or whatever. And I mean, you even started the program, and I remember being a teenager, and you would see all of the commercials about the different schools for like being a motorcycle mechanic or being in the automotive industry, and you could go and take their courses, and then they guaranteed you'd land a job or whatever. For all I know, those still air. I don't do like cable or live TV anymore, but for anybody who did make that jump and say, yeah, I'm gonna maybe change from a career to that, like, was it a great decision? How do you feel about it? Did it eventually become just like work, like anything else? I'd be interested to get that perspective, because I didn't make that jump when I had those opportunities. I started out, date myself a little bit, not my very first job when I was 15, but my first job that I kept for a while was working at a Circuit City, except for a small stint at a video store. That was my first real job, and it was making decent money for a 17-year-old. I was happy with it, but I stayed there until they shut the doors, when Circuit City went bankrupt. So I was there for quite a while, mainly in the car stereo department, and loved that, because it was sort of in the automotive space, and that was in the Pimp My Ride days. So everybody was coming in wanting all kind of stuff.
PS2s and LCD screens. Yeah.
Yep. So, and I did a short period where I actually worked in the install bay doing installations, at least part time, and I definitely enjoyed that. But again, there come times where you're working on something and things don't go right, and it's frustrating, or you're dealing with a difficult customer, or just a difficult car. So that's I'd be interested. I mean, I left Circuit City when they shut down, and ended up at Lowe's for a little while. So stuck with retail until I finished college, and then I started my career in IT. I'm in IT management right now. I manage a team of guys, but I've done contract and IT work for over a decade now. But fully work from home, which I love, because it allows me to do stuff like this after hours and have my setup. So
yeah. So to elaborate on that, well, not elaborate, I guess to go from that, what would your ideal job be? Like something in automotive, or something, similar to what you're doing? I mean, it don't have to be like, what did you think of as a kid, but like now, like, all right, what do I want to do?
But see, and as a kid, like I wanted an IT career. I wanted to work on computers, right? That was the goal. And I mean, I can say I've done it, and I did it, and I don't dislike it. But much like anything, if you do it for 10 or 15 years, sometimes you start to want something different. I do a little bit of marketing and web design on the side. I would absolutely, if I could find a way to transition to a career doing that, focused around either like the gaming industry or the automotive industry, it would be amazing. I have a big passion for photography. I'll be up at LS Fest. I've got the the media pass to be up there, and if I could, I recently met a guy who used to be a photographer for Sunoco, and like he's been to the Indy 500 shooting. He's been in all the big NASCAR races because they're the fuel providers for all those races. So that something like that. If I could wave a magic wand and have any job, I would be doing some sort of media in the motorsports arena for sure. How about you?
I mean, so I've always been one. I've got to always have something going on in multiple different things. And honestly, I'd love to get out of what I'm doing. I don't want to work outside all the time. I don't want to work on cars all the time.
Especially
But I
not
don't
this
ever
week.
want to. No, but I don't want to ever. I don't ever. I don't. I'd like to do something to where I'm not doing the same thing every day. Like, I mean, it changes a little bit now, but where I'm not always in the same building, where I'm not always working on cars, or where I'm not always doing the same thing. We're like, hey, if I can make it and do, make it and support, me and my family and whatever else I want to do, and tinker with cars, which I do a little bit of, a few like DOD deletes and things like that every so often. And that doesn't make a ton of money, but it's here and there. And I'm not super efficient with HP tuners, but I know enough to get me in trouble. And most of the time, it's just people wanting to turn that off, and so they'll come to me and we'll make a couple small changes. And it might, be a little small, income, but
Yeah.
maybe enough to give me gas or whatever. But
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind, like you said, finding ways to go to events. I find it more now, I guess, the traveling. I've been a few places with the current job, and it's pretty wild just getting to go to a different town and area for a couple days. And like, where I'm at, it's pretty rural, and Sherman Horse is similar where you were.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to some of these cities, and I'm like, holy shit!
Dude, the
And I'm
first
like,
time I went out to California. I was in Fremont for some training, and that was, not a big city or anything like that. But I took the train 40 something minutes to San Francisco, and like I still remember walking up out of that subway station, and like it was like, oh boy.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, 'cause I look around here, and I'm like, all right, it's like, let's say 2 miles, mile and a half to my local McDonald's. And there's like houses and some businesses, here or there, and it crosses the interstate. But there's, a lot of open, you see green trees, all that mess. It's not like it's, all right, I'm going a mile and a half up through here, and all it is concrete and brick. And, we've been to some cities like that for some of these trainings and stuff that I've been to, and I'm like, it's pretty wild for someone that's not around it all the time to be around it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm glad I've experienced it, but I'm ready to go home.
Yeah, I used to, in high school, I remember thinking like I was going to have an IT career and like I was going to move to Atlanta, right? And I was going to be like, because I do love the idea of being able to walk to things that I want. That's why like a vacation, a cruise is awesome. It's like all the restaurants there. It's just, oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to go walk and get some food. I'm not driving and having to park and all that. So I always like that idea, but like getting older, I realize how much I love I love my little hometown here.
Uh,
So that's definitely, a good perspective. Of course, we go to Atlanta. It's not that far away, so we'll go up there for the weekend. And, I haven't been to New York. I've been to Buffalo. I've been to New York, but not New York City, excuse me. And I don't know. I do want to travel more. I think, if I was in some career like that where I could, it would be great. But then I have a big problem, like leaving the kids and being gone for more than a few days. I get homesick for hanging out with them. We got our routines and I
yeah,
like it.
and that's some of my issue now. Like with what I'm doing, my schedule's been all over the place, which I know and I've been bitching for a while. But my schedule's been all over the place, and with 4 kids and two of them in diapers, and my wife works on an off shift. So it makes it difficult. And like right now, I've been going in at 3 o'clock in the morning, and uh, I've been, but then me at the house with the kids all night. So I try to hang out as long as I can to keep near everybody, make sure everybody's in bed, and then I don't sleep well, and then I get up at 2 o'clock.
Mm,
So and but I mean, like you said, being away, I know that it is hard. Like when we went to LS Fest, I mean, figure it's a few days away. I left on a Thursday, came home on Sunday, and I mean, but that's 3 to 4 days is about the most I'd want to stay away. But it
same.
it would always have to be, planned. Say, hey, I'm going to such and such event on this weekend or whatever. And ideally, I'd like to be able to do stuff like that where I could bring my family. It's
For
like,
sure.
hey, I'm not necessarily working for somebody, or if I am, I'm with somebody, and you know, we can create opportunities for ourselves and our families to bring along versus it being just a job
Yep.
where we go to do, whatever we're going to do, but, I make money doing it and we all get a little mini vacation out of it just
Yep.
to see something different. And that's the only real, I guess not regret, because I know I'm not, the kids aren't ready to come to LS Fest because
There's a lot of people
there's,
and a lot going
there's a
on.
lot of, there's a lot going on, a lot of people, but then there's a lot of not doing anything.
Yep.
And they would be burnt out on most of it in like an hour and ready to go. And I'm like, after that first hour of walking around, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go sit and hang out for an hour
Right.
and just, bullshit. And then I might go get up and race or whatever. Where for them, it was just gonna be hanging out all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the only thing I regret not being able to bring them or not bringing them yet is just, hey, I get to see all this stuff. And a lot of it, just driving on the interstate, but it's also, seeing different areas, the way the landscape changes compared to like where we're used to being around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To me,
Yeah,
I
like
think
we go
it's,
through Nashville coming there. So, I mean, you go right past Nashville coming up.
oh yeah. And see, that was one of the ways that I could go also, but I chose to go straight through West Virginia. And
Mm.
it's more or less going right up the mountain and it's really fucking windy. But uh it's more of a straight shot than me going down and then coming back up. And I really don't run into much traffic. I mean, it's pretty smooth sailing. But and it's I love I've always liked to ride around by myself and just in thought.
Mm-hmm.
So the long drive by myself, I'm like, man, I can like listen to music. I can not listen to music. I can listen to podcasts. I can have the windows down. I can have the windows up. I can have the heat on. I can have the air on. I can stop pee right here off the side of the road. I go over here, whatever I want to do when I want to do it.
Yep.
But I mean, but like you said, there's I do after a certain point, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to get home. I'm ready to see everybody,
Yep.
even though they don't stress me out. But
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. For us, it's right after the kids go back to school, right? And so I would have to literally keep them out for a day or two, like the second or third week of school. And that's
right,
that's kind of a challenge. And then if Crystal comes with me, because she was going to come with me this year, since Dad obviously isn't coming with me, but then we have to figure out, well, who's going to get the kids to school, make sure they're up. So I've got a friend or two that I'm considering bringing, but with me doing photography, it's like, hey, you're going to be by yourself for portions of the day where I'm gone. Like I'll come back and check in, but I'm not going to be right there with you the whole time. And you guys will be there, so they'll have
right,
somebody to hang out with, but just making sure that they understand that. I've got another friend. He's actually a photographer and videographer as well, and he's into cars and stuff. So I'm thinking about maybe like the room's already paid for, right? Why not come with me, and he can shoot
right.
some for me as well. So it'll be like having a second camera with me. That'll be great. And
Oh yeah.
I don't know, it'll be fun. On a little bit lighter topic, I told you earlier I had something I was going to ask you, and I want to get your take
Oh,
on it.
all
Maybe a
right.
dud. I don't know. But why did nobody ever prepare us for toilet paper math? I'm in the
Toilet paper
grocery store
mat.
the other day buying toilet paper, and 8
Yeah.
mega rolls is like 16 regular rolls, But then 8 super rolls is like, there's all these different. If you ever look at the advertisements on toilet paper, and what got me to think about this, I saw a TikTok where a guy's in like Lowe's and he's looking at toilets, and one of them says like, this toilet will flush 8 billiard balls per flush, and then he walks 3 toilets down. It's like, this one will flush a bucket of golf balls per flush. Where are they coming up with this stuff? And like when you go to buy toilet paper, how do I know if I'm really getting more toilet paper in this pack or the next?
Well, all right. What I'll say is, you come to the right place. I'm the expert.
I knew I was asking the right guy.
I'm the expert on toiletries. Actually, at this point in my life, I am like 90% flushable wipes.
Okay.
And you know, some people will be like, "Oh, you fucking pussy," you know. I don't give a shit. I want my ass raw. Especially when you get swamp ass and stuff when it gets hot. No, get everything nice and clean.
I'm gonna get a little sorry mom graphic and have it pop up every time.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, and like, so I forget, I was doing like the Dollar Shave Club thing for a while. Obviously I don't use that a whole lot anymore. But I used to have the like razor blade shipments that would come, and they had this add-on for wipes, right? Minty Tingle wipes. So it gives you a little tingling. So did not care for that a whole lot. But you know,
it's like your butthole smoked a menthol.
Have you ever watched Parks and Recreation?
Oh yeah.
So Andy's scene where he's talking to the doctor, and he's like, sometimes it's like I'm wiping a marker back there. Like sometimes you gotta have a little something. Okay.
Sometimes you gotta go back to front, front to back. You gotta wipe it. It's like, you know, wiping it out of peanut butter out of a shag carpet.
Guys, you did not know you were going to get wiping lessons today, but so the reason I don't use them much is I can't flush them because we're on a septic tank.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, if I was on septic, it'd be different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've county, and that's honestly, it's our water bill's stupid, and majority of it's sewer, probably because they know I'm flushing them fucking wipes.
They got you on a list.
Yeah, I'm probably like on the CIA, FBI shit. You know, they're coming out here with like MK Ultra and like, you know, try to brainwash me. Quit wiping your ass with those things. They fuck up the you know, the system.
Buy a bidet.
So, all right. I mean, this is kind of the same thing. I don't remember. All right, I was like in the 5th grade, and this friend of mine, and they had some project we were doing, and they were like, come around with a roll of toilet paper. They're like, hey, take this roll of toilet paper and roll up like how much you would use if you're using a bathroom. And I'm like, what? Okay. You pull off whatever. My friend goes, and I was like, oh, wow. And then he's like, oh, then you got to take it. You got to fold it up. And he like folded it up all nice and neat. I think, then you wipe it. Well, whatever they were doing, I don't remember. But they were like, oh, so now you take your toilet paper and each square that you have, you're doing whatever for. And he's like, shit. He had ran out so much.
Wow.
And all I could think of, I was like, I'm like, dude, you're going to clog a toilet somewhere.
Yeah.
I was like, your parents are probably pissed at you all the time.
Yeah, so that was just something I saw that TikTok earlier about how many golf balls it would flush, and it really made me think about it. I was like, how many times I've been standing in the toilet paper because we like our Angel Soft, but even among the same brand of toilet paper, you got the regular rolls, you got the plus rolls, the super rolls, the mega rolls, and they all like it maths out differently. And I'm like, I just want the one that's going to save me the most money. Like, come on.
Right. It's like, look, I want it to be soft on my tushy, but be, soft on my wallet too.
Exactly. So
that reminds me, we were talking about our jobs earlier. So it was like a year or two ago. A few years ago, they rebuilt this bathroom at work. It's all the way up front, like where the offices are.
Did they give you any input as much time as you spend in there? Did you get to look at the plans and?
No, unfortunately, I didn't. But I've used it. It is nice. So that's what I'm getting to. So they spent all this money. They redid this bathroom, and they were like, "Oh, well, it's for like relations when we have potential customers in and da 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 da, whatever." our bathrooms are back there. Half the toilets won't flush. They're overflowing, whatever. And there's a wash tub in the men's bathroom in my area, and something where it's tied in with the plumbing from the warehouse. Sometimes it like back flushes a bunch of water in it, then it goes down, and then it's an awful sewer smell. Well, anyways, one time, we had three stalls and two urinals, and all three stalls wouldn't flush. If they would, it would barely flush, and they were leaking water. And I'm like, what are we doing here? So I just started, you know, uh, being a little passive aggressive, and I would walk all the way to the front of the plant and use that really nice bathroom. I didn't do anything wrong. I would go in there and just do what I need to do, you know, however many times I had to do it that day. Well, after like a week, uh, at that time, my union president I had came to me and was like, Chris, so the plant manager I was in there talking to him earlier, and he asked me, he said, hey, such and such, from the front office came and was like, why are the hourly people using our bathroom? And then they brought up my name. Yeah, they brought up my name. And he's like, oh, well, I think he said something about some bathrooms back here. The toilet's not flushing, da 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 da. And then, like, I ended up going up there and talking to him not long after that. Within a week, our bathroom was fixed, and I had been bitching about it for months. And I don't know if it was maybe I was wrecking that bathroom or something. I mean, or
You are a man of the people.
yeah, or just, they're like, oh, we don't want those people up here in our bathroom. I don't know.
That's great.
But yeah,
You
I
just
don't
had to
know.
stink it up enough.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta do it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I think we had on our list too. We wanted to talk about your power tool brand of choice, and this, like, I had this sort of dilemma this past week with Father's Day, looking at all the Father's Day sales, because I would like a half-inch drive impact, like battery powered impact, because I've got the little M12
Right.
Milwaukee one that takes the smaller batteries, but like that's not taking wheels off and stuff. And I inherited a set of the DeWalt 20 volt stuff for the bigger impacts and things like that, but I still don't have the half-inch drive impact. And so I'm shopping, and like the cost to like buy in to get to the Milwaukee M18 stuff was going to be astronomical, even with the sales. I say astronomical. I don't understand a lot of you professional mechanics, but I'm a lowly IT
Right.
guy that works on my stuff on the weekends. So, it just kind of led me to, I know a lot of dads, some of us are fiercely loyal to, I like my red tools for sure, but I've already got 3 or 4 of the Milwaukee M18 batteries and one of the 60 volt batteries that, will go on there. So, I'm probably going to end up buying a DeWalt half-inch drive impact that'll use those batteries, because we got to save money where we can. But I was curious what your, I just said what mine was, but what your tool of choice was.
Uh, Whatever works and whatever's the cheapest. No, I mean, yeah, I've done that. I usually try to get what I can afford at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been through a lot of junk over the years, but I try to make my junk last as long as I can. Like my Chicago Electric chop saw that I have out here, it's pretty rough these days, but it gets the job done. But it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty rough. Um, hey, stop that! I'm I actually my half-inch impact that I have is a Cobalt 24 volt, and for all that I do, it works great. And so I ended up, you know, I think last year before last, I ended up buying the Cobalt blower and trimmer. So I've got another battery. They all use the same battery. They have the
Mm-hmm.
same charger. Um, you know, I have a Lowe's card, so I use their special financing anytime I can.
Mm-hmm.
And but then, like my wife for Father's Day, she got me a 3/8 electric ratchet, and it's a friend of mine, uh, David. He's got one, and he had actually been doing a couple jobs that I've helped him with on some DoD deletes. and he's got one. He's been hammering that thing for like at least a year or two, and he paid $80 for it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what my wife got me. And so far, I've used it working on this mini bike, and it's been great. And it came with two batteries, a charger. I think it's like a Kimo, K-I-M-O, a
Mm-hmm.
K-I-M-O, I don't know. Some off the wall China shit probably. But I mean, it works, and it's got a nice little green case. But I mean, it came with two batteries and a charger. But then I have a old red Chicago Electric plug-in half-inch drive impact that I've had for probably like 14, 15 years now. And it's pretty weak these days. I haven't used it for a while, but I used to drag that thing by the cord. Like I'd be laying underneath the car and I'm like, shit. I'm like dragging it. And I mean, it worked great until a few years ago. I was working on that C10 that I had, and I was trying to take the leaf spring package apart. And I tried and tried, and that thing did not have enough ass to break them loose. And when I did my DoD delete on my '08 Sierra, it couldn't break the cam uh, bolt loose. And a friend of mine brought his Cobalt 24 volt over, and that's when I was like, man, I got to get me one of these for the cost savings for what versus the Milwaukee, because that's what I intended to get.
Yeah.
But I'm like, cost savings, and then how much I'm going to use it, and how I'm using it. I was like, I went with the Cobalt, but and my hand drills, I need to replace them. Both of those, I've got two of them, the older 18 volt DeWalt's, and those were got on sale years ago, and they work really well. But they're at a point where I've had four batteries, and I'm down to one battery now that works, and I've got two drills, an impact driver, and a Sawzall. But I think my neighbors had it for a couple of years, but yeah, but I mean, I use the drills all the time, and I'm like, man, I need to upgrade these things because I'm sure if I try to replace the batteries, it's gonna be like some old stuff that's been sitting on the shelf somewhere. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I can get replacement batteries fairly inexpensive, but should I just upgrade? I mean, I've been debating on looking at some of like, was it the Braun or the Earthquake stuff from Harbor Freight?
Yeah, I see a lot of people buying those now, and that's kind of what got me, thinking about it. It's like I like it when everything kind of is all the same. Like you have all the Milwaukee stuff, and that's cool
Yeah,
and all. But like if you've already got some batteries, and if you don't, you're having to buy into a system new, right? And you're not
right.
doing this every single day professionally. A lot of that
Yeah,
Harbor Freight stuff is great. I love that store.
yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, and like you said, I'd love to have everything, all the same brand, so you can just swap batteries and have all the,
Hmm.
look great. But being on a budget, having kids, all kinds of other things going on, where you're like, borderline autistic and have like 13 different hobbies. So it's hard to
Tell me about it.
justify spending all this all this money into one thing.
Yep.
But I mean, for now, I'm not saying I won't have in Milwaukee someday because I really like their products. I'm at a point right now I can't justify the cost for what I would be doing with them.
Yeah. And
And
I'm
I
I'm
mean,
really sort of thinking the Braun stuff from Harbor Freight when I go to get that half-inch impact and just give it a shot.
yeah, I mean, I bought some of the Icon ratchets a couple years ago, and they've been great. Which, like I said, I don't use them every day, but those are my good ratchets. But I mean, I like the feel of them. They got nice weight to them. But like I said, I don't use them every day. But then I've got the big ass. I got the big ass. It's the 44, the older 44-inch Harbor Freight uh, bottom toolbox. But it's the old one that was like 16 inches deep or whatever, 18 inches deep. And I had that. I was like, oh, that's all I need. Well, I outgrew it pretty quickly. And but by the time I was ready to go buy the upper box, they don't have the Series 1 box anymore. I think they have the Series 2. It's like 22 or 24 inches deep,
Hmm.
which would be nice, but it would hang over. So I ended up looking around, and Craftsman had a top box. They had it Lowe's that fit on top of mine perfect. Uh, and it's red, just it matched it. It's got a power strip in it. Holds up.
Nice.
But I want to say I think I paid like with a coupon like $260 for that bottom toolbox,
Mm-hmm.
and then I bought this top box for like almost $500 a couple years ago, and I'm like, that's insane.
Yep.
When I
I
could
recently
I would have
decided
bought them both.
I'd like to get an upgraded toolbox because I'm still rocking like a 32 inch or 28 inch, like just the Craftsman bottom box, the mid and the top box, like the little kit you see at Ace or Lowe's. My wife got it for me for Christmas. I don't know, 7, 8 years ago or longer, and I've got everything in it, and definitely the number of tools I have outgrown it. None of my power tools go in it; they're all on a shelf. But what I've done, I've just started buying those magnetic strips at Harbor Freight that you can screw to the wall, and like my wrenches are all stuck to those, and just so it's all just out there on the wall, and I just walk up and grab what I need, and I like that. But it can be annoying because you grab it and then a couple other things come off with it if you don't, if
Yeah,
they've gotten pushed together. So I mean, it's I definitely have wanted to get a nicer box, but I went to go look even at the U.S. General ones now, and they're so much more than they were. Not that
oh yeah,
not that I
it's
think they're overpriced. It's just budget wise, it wasn't there. I sort of expected to walk in and spend $300 or $400 and get something decent, like I wanted just one with the workbench on the top, and it wasn't
yeah,
happening.
yeah, and I mean, as far as we were talking about tools, um, I know I didn't mean to jump backwards, but not necessarily power tools, but like tools in general. Like in my toolbox. If you look in my toolbox, you'll be like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm a very disorganized person. But a lot of times if I have stuff put away, I'm like, something's wrong. But like when I'm at work, people pick on me because I'll take things apart and I'll lay all my nuts and bolts out in a certain order. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, just don't mess with my shit. And but like at work, all my tools are in one, like, I got all my tools, in one drawer. At home, I couldn't tell you how many different tool sets I've had because eventually they all disappear. And then so I don't ever have any, like, I have my Icon ratchets and I got a bunch of extensions that were Icon at the time. I can't tell you where all my ratchets are right now, right off, but I've got like, a hodgepodge of sockets and everything. And I keep saying that one day I'm like, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go like every time I go to Harbor Freight or every time whatever, I'm gonna order or buy like one set of sockets or one set of wrenches every time I go in there, and like let's say Icon or whatever really decent stuff, and then slowly just replace everything and try to have everything in nice in order. Take
Mm-hmm.
all my old sockets and like just chuck in a bucket or something and just have for backups.
The check it
Because I'd
bucket.
love to be able to, yeah, I'd love to be able to just have everything in my toolbox and everything nice and neat. And I've worked out of people's boxes like that, and then like I've always been really good at cleaning up, putting it all back, especially because it's not mine. But it always seems like at home I'll get into something and I'm really bad about losing track of time, and then all of a sudden here I am, and I got stopped in the middle of something, so it gets laid out everywhere, and it may even not get back to it till later, and then I have to go in and out of the garage a bunch. The kids are in there, stuff gets missing. I was last summer I was working on my Caprice, and I had a Craftsman toolkit sitting over there, and my 3-year-old James was over there taking sockets and just chucking them across the garage, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I might have found some of them, but like when I just go out there and start picking up everything and just know it's like, all right, all these tools will go in this box, and then I'll go through it later, and then I never do. So, and I just constantly, fight myself.
Speaking of losing track of time, we just hit the 1 hour mark on what we recorded. It'll
Oh,
edit down some, but we've got a lot. A couple things I wanted to mention, that you and I were talking about is, we've hit 5 episodes. I think it would be awesome if we could get like a guest on here. We'll have to figure out the logistics of the recording. I know we've got to get some stuff set up on
right.
your laptop, but I think it'd be awesome either if you had somebody there with you, or if we just bring another person into the Discord here where we're recording. I can change the layout and we can make that work for sure. I think that'd be awesome. So if you've got some suggestions, I know we've got at least 5 people we've talked about wanting to bring on for sure. Just have to find some time and sync some schedules up. So I don't know if we'll have a guest necessarily when we record next time. It'll depend on schedules and if we can line somebody up, but I think that would be awesome. Another idea I had that I thought would be pretty fun is if we could get set up on, even if it's YouTube Live or like Twitch or somewhere like that, no delusions of being like big time streamers where there's going to be a lot of people in there, but I think it would be cool for us to do something like that and have like a hangout, and then all the folks from the Facebook page could actually come and chat and goof off with us, even if they're not on camera, that we'd be able to actually talk with them through the chat and stuff like that. So if the Facebook group thinks that'd be awesome, or if you're on YouTube, people drop a comment and say that's something they'd be interested in, I can get us set up for with a High Octane Dads channel on Twitch or Kick or something like that, and we can get it going.
Yep. And I agree with that. I know there's quite a few people locally that I've talked to that I'd either have to figure out bring here, or I could come to you. We just have to figure out, all I've got is my laptop camera and a mic, which, we might have to get more mics or whatever, but I can figure that out.
I ordered a couple of those lapel mics that go into your phone that you see like on TikTok or something. They were dumb cheap, so I was like, for $7 or $8, what can it hurt? Give it a try.
A friend of mine, actually, you maybe to post that picture up after a while. He's put one of our stickers on his motorcycle, but
I'll put it in here when I edit it.
He gave me one. He gave me one to try out. And I haven't done it yet because he gave it to me about the time I got my new mic. It's like yours. And I'm like, I just haven't, the last month or so, month and a half for us both, we've had a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, when we get in, it's been, we're getting in and doing this and not a whole lot of testing equipment. So
yep.
I do need to try it. And if it works pretty well, I might buy a pack of like 4 or 6 or whatever you can get them in. That way, if I go places, I can, we can link them up with multiple people.
Definitely before we get to LS Fest, we got to have some.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I may end up picking up another camera, so that way, if I do have guests, like I do have ideas for myself. I just got to have enough time where I'm off work and have some help to move some stuff around to get it set up. But I think it would work pretty well.
See, the way my back set up is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to kind of move stuff around.
Yeah. Just because you got a truck doesn't mean you'll help me move.
Yeah, look, I made so many friends when I bought a 22-foot car trailer. So.
Oh, I bet so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll call it there, and definitely, enjoyed it as always. I mean, honestly, we keep hitting this 1 hour mark, and it edits down to 30 or 5 or 40 minutes, and we go, hey, maybe we should do shorter episodes, keep people engaged, and at the end of the day, we're hitting this limit pretty quickly. So, it may be that we can get to a weekly schedule if people want to see that, want to see new episodes coming out weekly as well. We'll start working towards that, but we'll get this one edited and posted up this week, and then we'll go from there.
I do want to say that if you are interested in being a guest, you can either message us on TikTok, Facebook, or you can send me an email at hod.chris.official@gmail.com. I think that's right. Yes, that's it.
I'll put it up
so
on
that
the screen
way
too.
Yeah. So that way, I mean, if you want to do it that way, be a little more official, and I can keep track of everything. But
for sure,
because my brain's fried most of the time. But that way, make it a little easier to keep up with and see when it came in, instead of just have a word of mouth.
Yep. All right, we'll get those in if you guys want to come on and talk with us. And Chris, pleasure as always, and I'll talk to you next week.
All righty.
All right. Have a good one, folks.
See ya.